We're going to help you get the most out of your garden, and we're going to do so with Shari Petrucci. She's from the Western Mass Master Gardeners Association. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Hi.
Today we're talking about succession planting. For those of us who aren't familiar, tell us what it means.
Okay, well, succession planting is when you, regardless of the size of your garden, you could have just one small square, or you could have 5 squares. But what you do is, you planting early, you put your when it's time to put your vegetables in, there are some that take all summer to grow, like your tomatoes and your peppers and things like that. Yeah. So early you can plant in and around those things, where those things are going to be cold crops, which are things that like the cold, because in April it's still pretty cold. And so we put in our cold crops. We can.
So in other words, you're going to put in the big stuff, but while the big stuff is, lumbering
still
slowly,
small, yeah, you've got a lot of room that you can utilize around those plants.
Oh, okay.
So like here in zone 5, late April, mid-May, sometimes we wait till late May for the frost tender vegetables like basil and things like that, tomatoes. You don't want to put those in. But in the middle of May, or actually late March, we start with kale, onions, cabbage. We can put in our peas and our broccoli, spinach, different lettuces. Those crops don't mind cold weather and an occasional frost. This year we're a little late because we had that snow on the ground, so we're actually still about 2 weeks behind in my backyard. And then come May, I'm going to start planting my tomatoes, the end of May, my tomatoes, my Brussels sprouts, winter squash, summer squash, carrots, things like that.
And this is all helpful to know for us for the latter half of the summer, because there are certain things like peas, for example, you can plant twice. So if you miss the boat the first time, don't worry, because there are certain things you can plant in the latter half of the year.
Right. When you get towards the end of summer, like late July, August, you can start planting those things again. Peas again, lettuce, more kale, spinach, broccoli, beets, and carrots again.
And another way that you can use succession planting too is, let's say you have 3 rows and you want to grow a lot of lettuce. You can do plant a row, then wait, plant one the week after, so that way you can be...
You have a continuous supply of lettuce while you can, because after a while they start to bolt, and they take off, and they're not as sweet tasting, so except for the arugula. Those are always peppery.
Oh, that's very peppery. And so if you plant them all at once, though, you're going to get all that lettuce and spinach at once.
And it's not something that you can just keep and store.
Unless you want to make friends. Then you can give it to the neighbors.
A lot of rotten friends.
Exactly.
If you have 8 bags of fresh, tender lettuce in your fridge, it's going to just rot. You're not going to be able, unless you're planning a party. But that's not what our backyard gardening is all about.
Exactly.
Right.
So succession planting is really a way that
every week or every 2 weeks you plant another, and then you have all that room. Nothing else can go in yet, so why not? Get some lettuce, get some kale growing. Now, like kale, you can freeze that.
That's true.
Yeah.
And so there's the list. We're looking at it right now. This is for our area. So just knowing these things, we can have a much more effective garden.
Right, we're borderline between zone 6 and 5B.
And those are the designations when people are looking at when they should be planting.
Right. Our average last frost date is at the end of April, but I like to start my garden mid-May. Late April for the lettuces and tender cold crops, but then I start my other sturdier vegetables in mid-May.
But I guess moral of the story is better late than never. With succession planting and all this stuff.
It's not too late because we had such a delay in spring this year.
So you could still get out, you could still plant. Thank you for sharing all this.
You're
welcome.
With us.
Pleasure having you here. If you want more gardening tips, we do it all the time. Just visit us online, mymassappeal.com.